All right, you fuckers, let's talk about mental health. I mean, seriously, who doesn't have some baggage rattling around up there? We've got an expert who spent years wading through all the mental health bullshit. So today, we're going to deep dive into this whole damn thing, no holds barred.
It's gonna be a wild ride.
Okay, so let's cut to the chase. What the hell is mental health anyway? Is it just some feel-good hippie crap or what?
Well, the World Health Organization says it's a state of well-being in which the individual realizes his or her own abilities, can cope with the normal stresses of life, can work productively and fruitfully, and is able to make a contribution to his or her community.
Okay, so rainbows and unicorn farts.
Yeah, pretty much. But in reality, it's not about being happy 24/7. It's more like how well you deal with the shit life throws at you.
So you're saying it's not some fixed state, it's more of a spectrum.
Bingo. On one end, you've got languishing. You know, like you're barely functioning, just dragging yourself through the day. Maybe you're calling in sick, binge-watching Netflix, just feeling like a total zombie.
Oh yeah, been there. What about the other end? The happy-go-lucky assholes.
Those are the flourishing folks. They're generally happy and resilient, handling shit like a champ. But even they have their off days. No one's immune to a mental shitstorm every now and then.
So those annoyingly perky Instagram influencers are full of it.
Let's just say everyone has their struggles.
Okay, so it's all about where you fall on the spectrum. But what about when things go seriously wrong, like full-blown mental disorders?
Yeah, that's where things get really interesting.
You mean like depression, anxiety, all that jazz?
Those are the big ones, sure. But there's a whole smorgasbord of other messed up stuff.
Like what?
Well, you've got things like trichotillomania, where people pull out their hair.
Wait, seriously, like that's a real thing?
Oh, yeah. Then there's kleptomania, the urge to steal, and pyromania, obsession with fire. And even Tourette syndrome, where people might shout random shit or have weird tics.
Holy shit, so it's not just about being sad or anxious. It's about how your brain works, how you function in the world. So now that we've got a grasp on what mental health actually is, let's talk about how widespread this shit really is. Because, let's face it, everyone's got something going on, right?
Oh, yeah. It's way more common than you think. We're talking a full-blown mental health pandemic.
Jesus, really?
According to Wikipedia, back in 2019, almost 1 billion people worldwide had some kind of mental disorder. And get this, by 2030, it's projected to be the leading cause of disease worldwide.
Wait, seriously? A bigger burden than cancer or heart disease?
That's what they're saying. And the financial impact is insane. Back in 2010, the global cost of mental illness was already $2.5 trillion. And it's only going to skyrocket from there.
Damn, that's a lot of dough. So it's not just about individual suffering, it's a global crisis with huge economic consequences.
You got it.
And it's not just adults, right? Kids are dealing with this shit too.
Oh, yeah. Over half of all mental health conditions start before someone turns 20.
Seriously. Kids these days have it rough.
They've got social media pressure, academic stress, a whole different set of challenges.
No wonder they're all messed up.
And then you've got homeless people, veterans, refugees, all going through their own unique trauma.
So basically, mental illness doesn't discriminate.
Nope, it can hit anyone, anytime.
Okay, so we've covered what mental health is and how widespread it is, but how the hell did people deal with this back in the day?
Yeah, things were a little different back then.
Like, were we talking straitjackets and padded rooms?
Well, imagine a time before therapy or medication. Mental illness was seen as demonic possession or some spiritual curse.
Oh, so basically they just tortured the shit out of people.
Pretty much. Then came the asylums in the 18th and 19th centuries. Basically warehouses for the mentally ill, and conditions were often horrific.
That sounds lovely.
Oh, yeah. We're talking overcrowding, physical restraints, just awful stuff. Treatments ranged from ice baths and insulin shock therapy to lobotomies.
Jesus, talk about a cure worse than the disease.
Yeah. Thankfully, things started to change in the mid-20th century. The anti-psychiatry movement started advocating for more humane approaches. This led to deinstitutionalization, moving people out of asylums and into community-based care.
Okay, so that sounds like progress.
It was, but there were downsides too. Many people ended up homeless or in prison without the support they needed.
So they traded one hell for another.
It's complicated and there's no easy solution.
So where does that leave us today? What does mental health care look like in the 21st century? And what the hell are we doing to prevent these issues in the first place? We'll dive into that shitstorm after a quick message from our sponsors.
So let's get down to brass tacks here. What the hell causes these mental health problems in the first place?
Yeah, you don't just wake up one morning and decide to be depressed.
Right. Not exactly. It's not a choice, that's for sure. And it's definitely not as simple as snapping out of it, like some people seem to think. There's a whole cocktail of shit going on, biological stuff, your environment, social factors. It's like a recipe for disaster. And unfortunately, a lot of us have all the ingredients.
Okay, so break it down for me. What are the main culprits in this mental health shitstorm?
Well, first you've got the biological stuff, the nuts and bolts of your brain. Your genes, brain chemistry, even the actual structure of your brain can play a role. Like, we know that imbalances in neurotransmitters, things like serotonin and dopamine, those are linked to depression and anxiety.
So it's not just about positive thinking. There's actual science behind this shit.
Absolutely. Think of your brain like a complex electrical system. Those neurotransmitters are like the signals that allow different parts of your brain to communicate. When those signals get messed up, it can screw with your mood, your thoughts, your whole damn behavior.
So like a chemical imbalance in your brain.
Exactly. And that imbalance can be caused by a bunch of things, genetics being one of them. If your parents or grandparents struggled with mental health, you might be more prone to it yourself.
So you're telling me my fucked up brain might be my parents' fault. Fantastic.
Well, genetics is just one piece of the puzzle. Environmental factors are huge too. Stuff like chronic stress, trauma, even social isolation can really mess with your brain.
Okay, let's talk about stress. Everyone gets stressed, but when does it cross the line into a serious problem?
Everyone deals with stress from time to time. That's normal. But chronic stress, that's the kind that keeps grinding you down day after day. It's like your brain's stuck in fight or flight mode all the time. It's exhausting, and it can lead to a whole cascade of problems. Anxiety, depression, heart disease, even fucking cancer.
Damn, stress is no joke.
Nope. And it's not just the big life events that cause stress, it's the everyday crap too. Work deadlines, relationship problems, money worries. Hell, even social media can be a constant source of stress.
True, true. What about trauma? How does that screw with your brain?
Trauma can be a major trigger for mental health issues, no doubt. Physical, emotional, sexual abuse, neglect, witnessing violence, natural disasters. Any of that shit can leave some serious scars on your brain. It can change how your brain processes emotions, memories, even sensory information.
So it's like trauma rewires your brain to constantly be on edge, looking out for danger.
You got it. It can make you more sensitive to stress, more prone to anxiety and fear. And then there's social isolation. Kind of ironic in today's hyper-connected world, but so many people feel isolated and alone.
Yeah, we're all glued to our phones, but still lonely as fuck.
Exactly. Social connection is a fundamental human need. We need it to be healthy. When we're isolated, it can trigger loneliness, depression, even anxiety.
So put down the phone, go outside, talk to another human being. Got it.
Precisely. And let's not forget about poverty. That's a huge factor. When you're constantly struggling to make ends meet, it's incredibly stressful. It can lead to anxiety, depression, all sorts of mental health problems.
Being broke is stressful as hell, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Poverty creates this vicious cycle. It leads to mental health problems, which then make it even harder to escape poverty.
So we've got this perfect storm of biological, environmental, and social factors all contributing to this mental health epidemic.
Pretty much.
It's kind of bleak, to be honest.
It's a complex issue, no doubt. But there are things we can do to mitigate the risks and promote mental well-being.
Okay, so let's talk solutions. What can people actually do to prevent this shit from happening?
There's always hope. We're not doomed to a future of misery and mental illness. There's no magic bullet. But there are things we can do, both individually and as a society.
All right, give me some actionable advice. What can people do to protect their own mental health?
First and foremost, let's talk about self-care. But not the bullshit kind you see on Instagram, with bubble baths and face masks.
Yeah, those are nice, but they don't exactly cure depression.
Right, we're talking about the fundamentals. Getting enough sleep, eating a healthy diet, exercising regularly. Might sound boring, but that's the foundation of good mental health.
So, sleep, eat right, move your ass. Got it.
Exactly. Then there's stress management, learning to cope with stress in healthy ways. Mindfulness, meditation, yoga, or just taking some time for yourself to relax and recharge.
Okay, so chill the fuck out. Check.
Building strong, supportive relationships is crucial too. Humans are social creatures. We need connection. Spending time with loved ones, nurturing friendships, engaging with your community, all of that can help protect you from stress and isolation.
So put down the phone, go outside, talk to a real human being. We've covered that.
Right. And last but not least, don't be afraid to seek help if you need it. If you're struggling, talk to your doctor, a therapist, a trusted friend or family member. Early intervention is key.
Don't wait until you're a complete mental wreck to ask for help. Good advice. So we've got this global mental health shitstorm and some ways to prevent it. But let's get specific. What's the deal with mental health care in America? Is it as fucked up as everyone says it is?
Well, fucked up might be a bit harsh, but it definitely has its problems.
Okay, so spill the tea. What's the deal?
Remember those stats we talked about earlier? The global prevalence of mental illness.
Yeah, the whole zombie apocalypse of the mind thing.
Well, America's leading the pack. We've got a ridiculously high prevalence of mental illness in this country.
Seriously. So not just the land of the free, but the land of the mentally unstable too?
Not exactly a badge of honor. And here's the kicker. Even though a ton of Americans have a mental disorder, most of them don't seek help for years.
Why the hell not? Is it the stigma, the cost, the fact that finding a decent therapist is like finding a unicorn?
It's all of that and more. There's still so much shame around mental illness. People are afraid to talk about it or see help. Then there's the cost, which can be insane, especially without good insurance. And even if you can afford it, finding a good therapist can be a nightmare.
Not all therapists are created equal, that's for damn sure.
You got that right. And even if you find a good one, there are often long wait lists and a ton of red tape. It's a broken system that's failing a lot of people.
Sounds like America's mental health care system is a clusterfuck of epic proportions.
That's one way to put it.
So we've got this massive mental health crisis and a healthcare system that's basically a dumpster fire. What the hell are we doing to fix this shit?
Well, it's not all doom and gloom, you know. There have been some attempts to address this mental health shitstorm, both in terms of policy changes and just raising awareness.
Okay, so give me the good news. What are people actually doing to fix this clusterfuck?
Well, one big thing was the Mental Health Parity and Addiction Equity Act of 2008. That law basically forces insurance plans to cover mental health and substance abuse, just like they cover physical health stuff.
So they're finally admitting that your brain matters just as much as your body when it comes to insurance. About damn time.
Right. It was a huge step forward, for sure. And then you've got the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, back in 2010.
Yeah.
That expanded mental health coverage and made it easier for people with pre-existing conditions to get insured.
Okay, so some progress there.
Right.
But what about the stigma around mental illness? You can't just throw a law at that, can you?
Yeah.
Thankfully, there's been a growing movement to tackle that too. We've got celebrities talking about their struggles, organizations like NAMI working to educate people.
Yes, celebrities talking about their mental health. That's got to help. If they can admit to having problems, maybe it's not so shameful for the rest of us.
Exactly. It normalizes the conversation, makes people feel less alone, and we're seeing more focus on prevention and early intervention, especially for young people.
Catching it early is key. That makes sense. But let's be real, there's still a long way to go. People are still struggling to find affordable therapy, languishing on wait lists, feeling lost in the system.
Yeah, you're not wrong. We need more investment in mental health research, more trained professionals, and we need to make access to care more affordable and easier for everyone. We also can't forget about addressing the root causes of mental health issues. Poverty, discrimination, lack of opportunity, all that plays a role.
The tangled web, that's for sure. So what's the takeaway message for our listeners? After this deep dive into the crazy world of mental health, what should people do?
The message is simple. Mental health matters. It's not a weakness, it's a part of who we are. And just like your physical health, it needs attention and care. Whether you're struggling yourself or you know someone who is, talk about it. Seek help. Advocate for change.
Well said. And remember, folks, if you're feeling overwhelmed, take a deep breath. Reach out to someone you trust. Maybe treat yourself to a little self-care, whatever that means for you.
Absolutely. Find what works for you and make your mental well-being a priority.
All right, folks, that wraps up our deep dive into the wild world of mental health. We covered a lot, from the history of treatments to the current state of the mental health care system. We explored the causes, the consequences, and the potential solutions to this global crisis.
Hopefully we challenged some assumptions, gained some conversations started.
If you want to learn more, we've got some resources linked in the show notes. And remember, you're not alone in this. We're all in this shitstorm together. So be kind to yourselves, be kind to each other, and keep fighting for a world where mental health is valued and prioritized.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
That's it for us. Peace out and stay sane, motherfuckers.